The Big Number Natter is the UK's only nationwide conversation about numbers.
We want people to talk about how they feel about numbers to help make them less scary.
Hi, I'm Ish. I'm a training officer here at National Numeracy.
Hi, I am Roné and I am a project manager at National Numeracy. This is a conversation about ADHD and numbers.
And spoiler alert, we both have ADHD.
So Ish, what is one word you would use to describe how you feel about numbers and maths?
I think the word that comes to mind is rusty. I don't think I've ever been too bad at maths, but I definitely feel like as I've gotten older, I've left school, I've stopped doing a lot of that kind of work with numbers. And so I think rusty is definitely the way to go. I think I've got a lot of that I need to shake off before I could jump back in to using maths properly again in that same way. What about you?
I would say complicated. It's a bit complicated for me. I think, I, as someone with ADHD, it's what comes to mind first is time and budgeting as an adult. And how do we keep across all of these things as people that, are neurodivergent?
Have you always felt that way?
Yes, I think that, time blindness is a real thing. So, you're getting ready and you think you have X amount of time before you need to leave. And then all of a sudden you get distracted by something or things take a little bit longer than maybe you thought they would. Perhaps you start out with your budget at the beginning of the month and you think you've added up everything correctly, but perhaps you get through halfway through the month and it's not all as you planned out. So yes, I would say it's always been a bit of a complicated relationship for me with maths and with numbers.
Yeah, I think I would agree. That kind of that time blindness is definitely a big one for me. I've always seemed to be late for everything now. Thinking about your childhood, how did you feel about maths then?
I think at school, I found maths quite difficult in that, to be honest, I just didn't feel like the way it was taught to me was very interesting or engaging. I did feel that our teachers tended to, give a lot of attention and praise to the ones that were really good at maths. And then perhaps there was quite a bit of shame for the ones who were not picking it up straight away. So I think it was a case of trying to get through it, but it was really hard. I didn't find it very engaging at school. What about you, Ish? What was your experience like?
I think for me, it was quite a different experience. The way ADHD impacted my learning felt more like maths was a quick hit of dopamine. Getting a question correct or getting that praise that you said. If you're kind of one of the students that's doing well in maths, I think is probably something that I craved. I really it drove me quite a lot. So I loved maths at school, and it would kind of almost be like a safe space for me, I think. I remember, and I'm not condoning this to any children or adults watching, I used to get sent out of class a lot for messing about or whatever, and they would maybe go and do maths in a different room with a different class, sat by myself, and I was happy with that. I remember it being my 12 times tables. I thought, this is really fun, back in primary school. So I think, maths for me has always been a source of positivity and feeling confident in myself, I think.
I think it starts in the classroom a little bit there too, kind of how is it being taught? Are we engaging with those that are neurotypical and those that are neurodivergent? Are we catering to everyone's needs? I think that's really important at school. Let's talk about maths as an adult. And numbers as an adult. How does ADHD kind of impact you, Ish, now as an adult, at work, in everyday life? Do you think it does?
I think there is an element of procrastination that comes with ADHD. And so if the task does involve numbers and I'm not really interested in it, sure, maybe I'll put that off, but I wouldn't attribute that to the numbers themselves. But where it definitely has impacted me is outside of work. So I think for quite a long period, kind of throughout uni, which is kind of when I got diagnosed, through uni, and I suppose shortly after it. Budgeting and like time management were pretty poor. I remember during university, kind of just splashing my money on silly things, just takeaways, buying gadgets. I'm a sucker for a good gadget, and my house just being full of little bits of tap and technology that I'm never actually going to get around to using, just because I thought it looked cool in an advert. And I think again, it's that idea of getting that quick dopamine hit of like retail therapy in a sense. And I suppose I should clarify for anyone that doesn't know what dopamine is. It's just a chemical that gets released by your brain that makes you feel a little bit good. It sort of rewards you a little bit. And I think I got that from, spending money. And of course, it means that I just didn't budget very well. I didn't have a lot of money left by the end of the month. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think people with ADHD do tend to have lower savings and kind of lower paying jobs and stuff. So struggling with money is not the best thing to kind of be doing in that scenario.
I also think, at work, you were saying about procrastination. I definitely feel that too. It's, again, the time blindness. I'll get so sucked into a task that I'm doing that I completely forget about, maybe a meeting that started a few minutes ago. And I'm like, oops, let me just jump straight into that. So yeah, I think it affects me at work in terms of the procrastination, time management, and definitely, just getting lost in something. The hyper focus is real, man. Like I could really hyper focus on a Trello board as a project manager. It's real. So yeah, that's how it affects me, I think.
It's also important to kind of just raise awareness of the fact that a lot of these things that people might be experiencing could be a symptom of their ADHD, and to not kind of beat themselves up about this stuff, but at the same time recognize that it's something that we probably should and could get a handle on to improve things moving forward. On this idea of improving things, what's some advice that you would give to somebody who does have ADHD?
Maybe for someone at school, I would say, if you're struggling with maths, ask for help. There's always someone that will be willing to help you. Just because you're not doing something the same as someone else doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. We just process things differently. And asking an adult for help is really important. Let people help you. There's no shame in asking for help. I think the same applies to an adult with ADHD. Seeking out those resources. There's so many amazing resources out there. Seek those out, and they could really have a huge impact on your life and make things a lot easier for you. I'd also say for both, someone at school and an adult dealing with ADHD in everyday life, I would also say remember that you're not alone. There's so many of us amazing neurodivergent people. There's a whole community out there. What about you, Ish? What would you say to someone with ADHD at school or as an adult?
For someone at school, I would definitely say just slow down. I can't count the number of times that the feedback from teachers that I got was I made so many silly mistakes. I could do the work, I could do the maths, but I would misread the question or have just a whole page of nonsense because my brain's kind of going all over the place. So definitely just slow down, give yourself the time to work things out and go through things at your own pace. It's not a race. I'm not trying to beat anyone as much as I saw it that way. It's definitely not the case, and you're just trying to improve yourself. For an adult or someone else struggling with ADHD, I like to be quite open about me and my neurodivergence and my ADHD in the workplace. And I know that might not be for everyone, but I do think it's about acknowledging where you might need certain accommodations, right? Instead of trying to mask these things, which can be really stressful for a lot of people, actually just think about what help do you need to manage some of the things that you struggle with, but also recognize what are you actually really strong with as well.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point. I know for myself, although time management is not my strong suit, being creative, I'm really good at being creative. I'm really good at solving problems and seeing when a problem's going to come up, which is really helpful for me in my role.
Thank you so much for chatting to me today, Roné. It's been lovely to chat about your experiences and share both of our experiences that we've had regarding maths and ADHD. Is there anything else that you want to say?
Well, thank you, Ish. That was super helpful, super valuable conversation for me. And one of many that we've had, let's be honest, about ADHD already. So yeah, but I just wanted to say that if any of the topics we discussed today struck a chord with you and you're keen on boosting your confidence with numbers, then the National Numeracy Challenge could be just what you need. Just search National Numeracy Challenge.